Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ubjeet Kansal, and I'm the originator business development for JD Factors. We've been in Mississauga for 35 years, servicing the business-to-business community with our lending services. And, that has brought us to be members of Mississauga Board of Trade. That gives us a lot of opportunity to collaborate. So thank you for that, Mississauga Board of Trade. Imagine not having to wait 30, 60, or 90 days to get paid from your customers. We can fund any company that finishes their job and then has terms with their customers. We can pay them within 24 hours of completing that job. For their invoices, that could be from the first invoice of $2,500 or a company that's charting their path to growth with 40 million or 60 million annual revenues. We can support any industry that is in Canada or US that delivers and finishes their job and wants to keep their cash flow positive to make vendor payments or growth plans. Also with JD equipment financing, we can now also support our clients with equipment financing or leasing needs at reserve rates for our current clients only. So contact us on LinkedIn or on website. I'll put my contact details in the chat, but look forward to having a very good presentation from the presenters today, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I will stop my chit chat and I'll hand it over to the team. Ritu, over to you. Have a great event, everyone.
Thank you so much. Everyone, good morning. Thank you for joining us for the first Professional Development Committee session of 2024. My name is Ritu Kohli-Sethi, serving as the chair of this outstanding committee. Along with me today is our vice chair, who you just heard, Ubjeet Kansal, as well as committee members Donna Heslin, Gregory Turner, Linda Martin, and Ayush Sharman. The Professional Development Committee hosts 4 virtual seminars, each centered around a specific theme aimed at providing support and sharing knowledge with our members and the wider business community. This year, our webinar series focuses on growing your business, kicking off today with a session dedicated to cybersecurity. Join us in June for insights into AI, followed by discussions on balancing your technology and talent in September, and concluding with a focus on investment and financing in November. Keep an eye out for further details and updates. Now I'd like to pass the floor over to Donna for a land acknowledgement. And on behalf of the Professional Development Committee, thank you again for joining us today, and we hope you leave with new insights and valuable information. Donna?
Great. Thank you so much, Ritu. We'd like to acknowledge that the lands which constitute present-day City of Mississauga, being part of the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Wyandot Nations. We recognize these people and their ancestors as people who inhabited these lands since time immemorial. The City of Mississauga is home to many global Indigenous people. And I'd just like to thank everyone for being here today as well. I'm Donna Heslin. I work with the City of Mississauga's Economic Development Office, specifically IDEA. The IDEA team is part of a larger entrepreneurship innovation ecosystem, and we have opened a physical space in Square One called IDEA Square One. We hope to have you visit at some point, and we support entrepreneurs at every stage. We work closely with MBOT with all of their programming, their team as well. We do provide startup programming right through to scaling and growing companies, and we have physical co-working space as well. So we hope you take the time to come check us out at some point in the mall. We're right beside the rec room. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Tej Kash, who is business consultant, a tech sector specialist for the City of Mississauga Economic Development Team. Over to you, Tej.
Thank you, Donna. Stephanie, do we want to spotlight our panelists, and then as soon as that's done, we'll get started with the introductions.
Of course.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. We'll start out with the introductions. I'll briefly introduce each of our panelists, and then I'll bring it back for introductions. Today we have Craig Konisak. He's the partner at SCP LLP, Megan Morris, senior manager at Canadian Western Bank, and Michael Bakaic, president and founder at Iceberg Cyber. So over to you, Craig, for your introduction.
Good morning. I joined S+C, which is a full accounting company. We provide all accounting services, but my role is running IT day to day for the company and our customers. Every business out there has technology, and this has been recognized around 95 when I joined Esplasi. And we were helping our customers trying to embrace technology. And every one of us knows that without technology, things tend to stop. So we try to bring knowledge and business processes that are unbreakable. With this, there are a lot of things that we can do. We can help, but today's focus will be on cybersecurity, which is probably the hottest topic of the day. Thank you.
Megan, over to you.
Good morning. I'm Megan Morris. I am the Senior Manager with Canadian Western Bank. I have been in the financial services industry for over 25 years. I've held roles on both the corporate and financial institution side. I join you today again, Canadian Western Bank, and our focus is on small business owners. So I'm hoping that I can bring that lens to this discussion today.
Michael.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Bukaich, founder of Iceberg Cyber. Our main goal is to try and make cybersecurity simpler to understand for small business owners. We like to say that we're creating the cyber version of a credit score, which is what you can see in my name on this Zoom. Is main website for us is the cyberscore.com. The cyberscore is our way of trying to bridge this language gap so that regular people in our community can understand what cybersecurity means to them and their small businesses. So if you want to find out more, check it out at the cyberscore.com and stay tuned because we're going to be breaking down the cyber basics in this webinar.
Great. Thank you all. With that, Michael, I think we'll start with you for the first question. Can you give us a snapshot of the current cybersecurity landscape for small businesses? What threats are lurking out there?
Yeah, I think the news does a great job at getting everyone riled up about it. So it's clearly a topic on people's minds. I just got an email while we were doing our prep for this. The University of Winnipeg just this morning suffered a ransomware attack. And I'm going to read the quote just to get everyone's minds on the same level. This is a quote from one of the professors that was interviewed in this Winnipeg Free Press news article. Right now, I have no way of contacting my students. They've lost all access to course materials. We were just about to start exams, so this is just about as bad as it gets. Basically, we're dead in the water right now for 9,000 students. The University of Winnipeg is not a small business. However, the damage that's been done to this university is the exact same thing that unfortunately happens to tons of small businesses. The attack here was a phishing email that got onto someone's computer and then spread across all the other computers until the criminals were able to lock people out of their email inboxes. Everyone uses email. Imagine that you also lost access to your email. You'd be in the same position as this professor, not able to contact your employees, which is problem number one. Problem number two, not able to contact any of your clients or prospective clients. Huge bad day. Fortunately, none of us need to feel helpless because there are tons of basic practical solutions that we can all follow to make sure that we don't end up like statistics, unfortunately, like the University of Winnipeg. There are a number of very clear, easy to accomplish cyber basics. We're going to break them down later, more on the landscape. This University of Winnipeg example not only is timely, but a perfect segue into where we should concentrate our focus for protecting ourselves. Email is the single greatest conduit of risk to you and your small business. That's where more than 9 out of 10 risk is going to come to your business. The reason I emphasize that is it allows you to concentrate your focus on just thinking about how dirty and toxic your email inbox is for you and your employees. Email, single greatest risk. Every day you're getting spam. You probably have all experienced that, like the spam advertising and stuff. That is now migrating to be malicious. Malicious email is called phishing, spelled with a PH, because I don't know where the original PH spelling came from, but it's supposed to be an homage to actually like the sport of fishing and you're the fish that people are trying to lure and catch. A malicious email is going to try and convince you to pay a fraudulent invoice, log into a fake website to steal your password, or try and propagate other spam or malicious documents to your employees. And the whole point of bringing this up in this conversation is to say you have to view your email inbox as a toxic pipeline of spam. You're probably getting more spam than legitimate email. We monitor this. That's our job. People get more spam than legitimate emails. Google and Microsoft do a great job at filtering out the spam, but it's still going to get to your eyes and your employees' eyes. And that's the positive takeaway from this part of the webinar is simply talking to your employees about the realistic risk that they're going to get sent spam and phishing emails is a great step in the right direction. It is a tech problem because there's automated software sending you spam emails all day, but it's a human solution. Simply by talking to your employees and saying, you're going to get this. This is now part of the job, unfortunately. You're going to get malicious emails that's going to trick you to do something or pay something or log into something. Be aware of it. If the content looks weird, if the sender looks weird, if they're asking you to do something that you don't feel comfortable with, don't do it. No one's going to be penalized for not immediately clicking on an email. So take a second, think twice. And that is a great, healthy human solution to a very dirty tech problem.
Thank you, Michael. That was great insight that you shared, and the story around the Winnipeg University. Yeah, these days universities, even small businesses all over Canada are getting attacked, and the vector is through an email. So thanks for sharing that.
That's right.
Craig, just around the budget friendliness, and you have a expertise in IT. How can small businesses prioritize their cybersecurity efforts without breaking the bank? Any cost-effective strategies that you would like to share?
Yes. I'm kind of privileged in a way that I talk to a lot of business owners. And sometimes I sit in front of them and I'm being asked, what can we do? How can we get ahead of this? We are not enterprise. We are a small business. We're a medium business. We don't have big budgets. And the conversation always leads to one major point for me is basically how do we establish a culture of security? And the way I see it is everything goes top down. So if business owners talk about it with their employees, with their management team, this gets a little bit highlighted exactly the way Mike said. Making people aware is number one. Doesn't cost you anything, but those discussions are very, very valuable in making people a little bit more cautious around IT systems. The other thing that I can think of is that doesn't cost anything or very little is invest in employee training. Like Mike said, if you really understand what attacks, how they're being propagated, what type of attacks are there, it's much easier to recognize them. And so investing in employee training to me is really probably one of the cornerstones of being serious about cybersecurity. Another point would be to secure your, let's call it IT pipeline, let's secure your network, secure your email. What it means is, most of us have some form of email servers and some licenses for either Office 365 or, Gmail, stuff like this. There are different levels of licenses, but the differences between them are very small sometimes. But the higher level licenses sometimes offer better protection from spam, from malicious attacks. So that's something to be considered. But securing your IT also means things like using firewalls, being serious about how you set up your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is not to be set up by a guy who barely understands how to deal with IT. If your Wi-Fi is bridged, like there's pretty much people are in your network, they're on your servers, they're on possibly on your workstations, right? So there are defense measures that we can do, and also a lot of them come for free. MFA, multi-factor authentication, is something that is offered by pretty much every bigger vendor right now. Would it be Microsoft? Would it be Amazon? Would it be Google? Doesn't matter. All of them, they offer MFA. So if I come to point number one, that everything is being trickled down from the top, if the owner of the business refuses to use multi-factor authentication, if they refuse to treat security seriously, then employees will not follow suit either, right? So to me, getting very serious about it. The last point I want to bring under securing your IT is encryption. This is a very contentious point because that's not something that can be very easily adopted, but it's definitely doable. There are a lot of free tools that allow you to encrypt information. Because exactly how Mike said, threat actors, they work very, very hard to get into your business, to get into your network. And you really should assume that they will get in. And if they get in, what do you do? Like, it's all information. There is a concept of exfiltration of the data. And this is what you want to really prevent. You don't want your sensitive information, God forbid it's your client data or is your employee data. We have payrolls, we have social insurance numbers, we have credit cards, different things. So encryption is something also I would consider. The very simple thing that every business can do is do regular updates. And a lot of people are afraid because they don't know if this is a trick or this is a real thing. But again, with proper training, they would know that certain things are okay to be done. And by updates, I mean, I would make sure that every single computer has up-to-date antivirus. The fact that you have antivirus doesn't mean anything unless it's up to date. So this is definitely very, very important. Every computer, it doesn't matter if it's iPad, it's Mac, is it PC, they have operating systems, and those should be updated regularly as well. The same comes to web browsers. Vulnerabilities are being found all the time within those tools, and they should be patched up. So that's free, that can be done. If you don't know how to do it, there's always someone who can help. This doesn't require a lot of IT knowledge, the update process, really. Another thing that I unfortunately have seen over and over again is when things go really bad, not having disaster recovery plan, it's extremely damaging, could be damaging to the business. You need to know what to do in case something happens. So again, free activity, sit down with your management team and try to design disaster recovery plan and prepare and outline all immediate actions that you need to do in case of cyber attack. Like Michael said, university went down because everything probably was encrypted. And it's not like some guy who can decrypt things. No, they can't. I can guarantee that. Encryption is so strong those days that I don't know of any technology that can reliably decrypt information in any kind of amount of time that you would find acceptable. So disaster recovery plan is another thing. If you have someone who can perform cybersecurity audits, this will point out a lot of audits are free. So if you invite a company that knows something about cybersecurity and say, would you be able to do audit for us and tell us if we can do something better? You probably gain a lot of information about how to identify weaknesses and ensure the compliance with security and other measures. And the last one, back up your data. Back up your data and make sure that they call this air gapping your backup. What this means is that when cyber criminals get to the networks, they try to find your backup. Not many people know that, but they do everything they can. It's not like immediately your system will go down and you will be, no. They will first try to figure out where your backups are and destroy your backup. Why? Because they're criminals. They want money. They want the ransomware. It's there because they try to get ransom from you. And those amounts are large. This is not small amounts. Those are big amounts. But if your business is in the balance, then people sometimes have to find this large amounts of money to pay those criminals. So again, not only that someone tells you that you have a backup, but make sure that your backup is protected in a sense that it's almost, there is no way for threat actors to get access to your backup and destroy it. So I hope this will give you a little bit of insight of things that you can do. Like this is across any business, small and big and medium, doesn't matter. Those are the things that we can do because we are doing this today, right? You just probably can do it a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. No, thanks for highlighting, MFA, encryption, and the whole, preparing your business around business continuity. That's very important. So thank you for that. This is a great segue for our next question, Megan. Safeguarding sensitive customer data is crucial. What are some of the practical steps small businesses can take to protect their data from cyber threats?
So I'm gonna spin this a bit because Mike and Greg are doing a really great job about talking about the data. I'm going to talk about protecting your money, if that's okay. And the things that from a banker perspective, what can people be doing to protect what is, I think, one of their key pieces is their money. Again, there are a lot of alerts built into the online banking platforms. Enable them all. Enable them all, and when they happen, investigate them. Don't wait. If you get an alert that somebody set up a bill payment, call the bank right away. Who set up this bank payment and when and why? And if you didn't do it, shut it down. Again, to approve any online transactions. We know that people that are doing one to approve are more likely to get hit and be successful than two to approve on any cyber attacks. Threat actors are very good at figuring this out. And so we know two to approve is a stronger methodology for online banking. If you get a weird request for information, educate the team that it's okay to stop and ask questions and say, who is this vendor? Why are they emailing this in? Call back the vendor, call back the person that you know, and say, did you send this to us? I need to verify. And it's okay. Like it should be a culture of fear, without fear, that it's okay to stop and pause because threat actors will actually come in and apply pressure. You need to do this payment and you need to do it now. No, and they pretend to be a CEO, a director, and some of these people react based on that pressure. Educate that it's okay to stop and question the transaction. Segregation of duties. Not one person can go end to end. That's a huge piece. Again, I know Greg had spoken about this. Training and education for all employees. And again, that culture of, reporting without fear. Some people are like, oh, I clicked on that link. And sometimes they're fearful for the job that they cause something big, and creating that, no, you know what, I want it to be okay that you accidentally you clicked on that link and report it so that it's okay. Now, if it's the 100th time this employee's clicked on that link, that's a different conversation, but 1 or 2 times report and be able to bring it up without fear that they made a mistake. I do want to say regular review of transactions. So people should be looking at their transactions daily. If you see transaction and reconciling their bank accounts weekly, also question those weird transactions that you see, like $5 in, $5 out, and you don't know what that is, right? You just assume it's a bank error in the bank, put it back in, phone the bank, question it, because it could be, again, a threat actor going in, taking the money out and putting it back in, just to test the strength of your system and your responses too. And I think the other thing, I tried to limit it to my top 5. No sharing of passwords. I cannot believe the number of people that share passwords. It's shocking. And again, I know Greg alluded to this as well. The tone at the top. The business owner has to breathe, cybersecurity and reporting without fear. So again, if the tone at the top is, we're not going to get hit, we're not at risk of fraud, we're not at risk of a cybersecurity attack, it's very hard to implement it downward.
No, thanks for providing the financial institution perspective today. That's very interesting. The $5 in, just those small things that trigger things for us just to call your bank. So thank you for that. Michael,
maybe add something.
Go ahead.
Because I found this very interesting what Megan said. I just want to bring up another thing is scams related to employees and payrolls. What I've seen multiple times is that cyber criminals make contact with the finance department and say, my name is Greg and I just changed my bank. And without confirmation face-to-face, employees actually change their banking information on the payroll. And exactly as Megan said, sometimes the money is just gone. Where can you go to? And if this is just one person, okay, maybe the loss is not as big, but being extremely careful around financial systems. And I don't know how they exactly do it. It's really hard to guess, but they have enough information. Maybe employees stepped on the landmine at home, where you don't have access to their antivirus, when you don't have access to their PC, and then using their personal information. Now they try to convince employers to pay someone else. And so I just want to bring this another very interesting point that Megan brought is protecting money through many means. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg, for that addition. I know Megan went into a little bit around training. If you can kind of deep dive into it, Michael, around how small businesses can ensure their teams are equipped to spot cyber threats. Is there any particular training, or is there particular small business training? Anything you would like to share?
The first 30 minutes of this probably got your anxiety levels higher. The second half, we're going to be positive. It is very achievable. It is certainly very practical, and it will not break your budget to build up your basics in cybersecurity. We call them the 3 Ps of cyber basics. I'm going to put them in the chat in a second. This second half is going to be super positive. I want you all to appreciate the fact that you can make a notable difference. There are tons of studies here that show statistically you can go from, if you're worried that you're at a 1 out of 10, you can easily get to a 5 out of 10 with some very achievable basics that really surround it, just talking to your employees about awareness. Okay, let me press send in the chat. 3 Ps of cyber basics. We have covered them already. This is your easy way to remember them because they all start with the letter P. The 3 are passwords, patching, and phishing. Let's go through them one by one. Passwords. Microsoft did a study last year of the gajillion users of Microsoft's platform and found that multi-factor authentication is the single greatest thing that you could do for your personal security and for small business security. It's the single biggest thing that you could do. All of the risk that you're facing at some point could be thwarted if you had multi-factor authentication set up. Multi-factor authentication comes in a couple different forms. It can either be like a text message you get. The banks do text messages. It can be an authentication app. Microsoft has an authentication app, which I use. I also use Google Authenticator. It's a little app that syncs with your login. So when you're trying to log into your bank account, you put in your email or your access card number and your password, and the bank will say, we need to send you a secondary confirmation, either text message or with the Authenticator app, and you put the little code in. That's multi-factor authentication. Employing that for definitely your bank accounts, your Microsoft account for sure. If you're using Microsoft for email, Google has it for their email accounts, and anything else. LinkedIn did it several months ago. Almost every cloud account that you'll interact with now has the option. Some call it 2FA for two-factor authentication. Some call it multi-factor authentication. Look for that. The reason that this helps is because you will have your password stolen. Accept that. Your password is probably already stolen. Accept that.
Yeah.
The nice thing about multi-factor authentication is it's very easy to find someone's password. We can do a magic show right now, and I could bring up Megan's and Greg's password if they want, but it's hard to steal their phones. That's extra effort. So the criminals are financially motivated. It means they're trying to go for a high bang for buck. They're going for the low-hanging fruit. So if you have this extra step, they would also have to steal your phone or do some extra effort to get these multi-factor authentication codes, which they're not going to do. They're just going to go for an easier target. That's why it's so great. So that's the first one. If you take anything away from this, after this, right in your notes, go set up multi-factor authentication for at least your email and bank accounts. Start there. It's very digestible. Those are your most valuable accounts anyways. Start there. Second P, patching. It may sound techie, but really all this means is install the software updates on your computers and your phones. That's all it means. My phone gets software updates once a month. My Windows computer gets them every like week or so. Microsoft pushes big ones out once a month, but they pop up weekly. For Macs and your iPhones, it's the same. All you have to do here is check for a software update, or if you see the notification, install it, and then reboot the device. This is often overlooked, but you got to reboot your devices every once in a while to apply the updates, and then just flush out whatever cache was left and start fresh. Again, you can see very practical for your employees. For my employees, I set up in their calendar every Friday at 4:30 to look for Windows updates and turn their computers off at the end of the workday. It's a calendar reminder they all have. It's very practical to deploy. If you keep your phones and your computers up to date, you're going to be much better in terms of cyber hygiene than otherwise. And the last P, which hooks up to my first comment about email, is phishing, spelled with a P. Email is the biggest conduit of risk that you and your employees are going to get when it comes to cybersecurity. That's how 90% of cyber attacks start, is through some malicious email, either tricking you to pay an invoice, tricking your finance department to change payroll information for your employees. There's tons of creative ways that criminals have found to trick us, to give them our money. That's their everyday job. But fortunately for us, it's all coming through the same pipeline statistically, which is email. So the third P of phishing means talk to your employees about the risk of phishing attacks via email. You don't have to look for any sort of like government approved, sanctioned training material. You can just start this afternoon with a conversation to remind your employees, hey, employees, we're going to get spam emails. Level set with everyone. You're going to get spam emails. Don't feel embarrassed when you get one. You can turn it into a fun game, like spot the spam. Everyone can look for it. Everyone needs to be hip to it because it happens from the CEO all the way down to the person you just hired. I have had it on the first day of hiring someone. Their email account gets a spam filter. I got our email account set up so anything that hits our spam filter comes to me so I can review it. First day of employment. Because before they started, they changed their LinkedIn to say, we started at Iceberg Cyber, And criminals scrape LinkedIn, find the employees, find they just got a new job, send them spam phishing, because the first couple of weeks, nobody knows each other. Nobody knows what the email is supposed to sound like. So they got an email that tried to trick them that it came from me. It's really easy. It's crafty marketing, but it's thwarted easily with the human solution. All these are like tech problems and human solutions. Talk with your team and say, we're going to get spam. There's no stigma around it. Keep your eyes open. Send us fun screenshots if you find anything weird, and think twice before you click. So those are the 3 Ps: passwords, patching, phishing. Talk about those with your team. Be positive, because you totally can keep yourself safe. You don't have to end up on some news article hit list.
Thanks, Mike. That's great. The 3 Ps, I'll remember that for sure. It's something even I go through, like the MFA, even though it may be annoying to do the phone thing, but it's important to do that. So
that's also something we got to put behind us. It's 2024. We can't think MFA is annoying. Otherwise, we're just going to be asking for problems. It's just a part of our lives now. It is definitely more annoying to lose all your money. That hasn't happened to me yet, but that would be more annoying. So MFA is a necessary part of our lives now. I got my app here on my phone. Every time I log in, I go fingerprint, code, type it in. Super easy. This is just part of the process now.
Thanks, Mike. Craig, our next question is around third-party risks and vendors. How can small businesses navigate these waters and ensure vendors don't open the back door to cyber attacks?
That's actually a very good question. Just recently, I've been approached by a creative company, a marketing company, that wanted to do business with Royal Bank. And so I went through the entire process with them, trying to be approved as a vendor. The idea here is that everyone should try to find out if the vendor is as serious about cybersecurity as you are. So you have to do your due diligence. It could be as simple as asking pointed questions. If they evaluate their security practices, if they know what it is, if they have a process to handle sensitive data. Also, what I found, a lot of companies, especially smaller ones, they don't like the bureaucracy, if you will. But what I found is very often when you work with the lawyers and you have a contractual agreements with vendors, that sends like a lightning bolt to the vendor saying, okay, now we have a contract, and in this contract there are some stipulations about specific cybersecurity requirements and protection measures that we need to have if you want to work with this company. So my advice would be, don't simply take it on their word, but instead have a document that they can sign to demonstrate to you that they're really serious about cybersecurity. Goes without saying, regular monitoring of the activities and security practices is key here, because we all could have a great standing as of today, but as we know, this landscape is revolving so fast that in a week and a month, we could be kind of obsolete with our cybersecurity protection measures and those kind of things. So how do you do monitoring? This is exactly like both Megan and Mike said, don't neglect even the smallest hint of someone trying to tell you something. Encourage transparency. Make sure that everyone in the company knows that even if they do something or they feel maybe they did something wrong, there is absolutely no fear of going forward and saying, you know what, I think there was an issue. I think I clicked on the wrong thing. This will go a mile to make sure that you can catch things before they really get bad. And again, I'll bring this again, data encryption, you may talk to your vendors and require that all sensitive data has to be encrypted, and both in transit and at rest. And if they will sign a contract with you that this is actually their practice as well, then in case of a breach, you at least can say, you know what, they got encrypted data, which is worthless. Another thing I can think of is incident response plan. What it means is, again, it's a little bit of planning. It's a free exercise. You know, when there is an incident, what do we do? And probably the best thing is like immediately we call our IT provider, or we call the specialist that we know. We tell them exactly what happened. They will give us some abilities to basically try to figure out what the responsibilities are of every person in the chain of communication. And, you know, hopefully this will be nipped very quickly and dealt with without the need to rebuild the systems and do other things. And the last thing I want to bring up is when you work with vendors and you have good cybersecurity processes in your business, why don't you offer free vendor training? You want to work with us? This is like, you can create a small video. You can offer a webinar exactly the same way we have it right now, that will explain to vendor why you are concerned, what data you are trying to protect, and what are your goals, your business goals, because we are talking about reputation damage, right? When things go bad and cyber criminals get to your system through your vendors that you deal with or through your employees, it doesn't matter. It's your reputation that is online. And this is what we are trying to protect. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Our next question is around bouncing back. Megan, this one's for you. No business wants to face a cyber attack, but they happen. What are the steps small businesses can take to recover and bounce back and come back stronger from a cyber attack?
Yeah, so I'm going to make the assumption that you don't have a disaster recovery plan in place. So we'll start there. So when these things happen, speed is key. You need to report it right away. From the banking perspective, the response time can impact the lost amount. The funds still may be in the banking system, so we need to know right away so we can try to freeze the asset. So our priority is also always on containment and then recovery. So you need to report the fraud. You may also have to report it to the police, depending on the amount of the fraud. And I know this sounds like a horrible thing, but be patient because these investigations take time. Again, like I said, we contain, so that may involve shutting down your bank account. So there's no more funds going out there. That will probably also be resetting all your passwords. And then we focus on recovery. When the recovery is done, then we kind of say, we may come back and say, this is how this happened, but you're going to get a limited amount of information. It's very similar to like I don't want to say what you see on TV, but where they don't give you all the details of everything because there's key things to hold back. But they'll give you enough so you can build a response plan. So how do you bounce back? You got to take the lessons learned and don't see this as a one-time event. See it as something that is ongoing. So you need to develop your disaster recovery plan, your fraud response plan. So then how are you staying abreast of the fraud methods and cybersecurity in your controls? How is the activity and your payments documented? How are you staying on top of all the different security levels out there? What do you know? What don't you know? And I know this sounds very like a lot, but this is where you have to start going down through the accounting, through the systems, and where could possible breakages occur? Where are your vulnerabilities? and develop a response plan based on that. And I would say you could develop an outline of where you think it is, but you really need to engage people like Greg and people like Mike and forensic or fraud accountants to stress test your system if this is something important to you. And it really does come down to like almost like a cost benefit, right? You can spend the time with these people, but how much could you lose to fraud? And you have to take that amount and determine it and look at investing that back in. So I think it's really about it happens. Don't assume it's only going to happen once and move on. Build back up, take your lessons learned, build a response plan and a plan that's reviewed regularly, once a month, once a quarter. It has to stay up to date with current cybersecurity trends.
Great. No, thank you for sharing that. Michael, let's get into a bit more on the compliance and risk side. How can small businesses stay compliant with data regulations while effectively managing cybersecurity risks?
Okay, so to get everyone on the same page, the Canadian federal regulation is called PIPEDA. The full acronym is Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, PIPEDA, just call it PIPEDA. This is our in this country, this is our overarching regulation that covers, so let's not use any dreary words, that covers the protection of our data privacy. We're all citizens. This covers our personal privacy. It puts obligations on anyone that holds personal private data, personally identifiable information known as PII, like contact information, healthcare information, credit card information, employment information like your payroll for your employees. All this is covered under PIPEDA. 20 years ago, this meant we had to keep our filing cabinets locked under key in a room that has a lock so that no one can break in and just steal all of our information. And now this is really like talking about how you store information in your CRM. Like everything in your CRM is personally identifiable information for your clients. How you store your HR information, because that's all personally identifiable information for your employees. There are other sector-specific and regional, provincial data privacy regulations. They're all trying to do the same thing, which is put in place safeguards, requirements for safeguards, so that you minimize the risk that the information that you hold in confidence for your employees or clients doesn't just get onto the open internet. Now, as you can probably guess from the nature of this conversation, it's not a foolproof plan, and even the best intentions evaporate when some criminal finds a sneaky way to gain access to your information. That's the second most valuable thing that they're after. The first thing is your money. The second most valuable thing is your information, because with the information, they can try and get more money. Like Greg's point earlier, if I was a criminal and I attacked one small business, got all of their payroll information, I can then re-attack them with this confidential information and try and trick them to change payroll to pay my bank account instead. So with that being said, the basics that we talk about, like judging by the fact that you're in this webinar, means that we need to focus on the basics. You know, let's level set with each other. Every day we're doing small business cyber basics. So this is the conversation I love having. If you're talking to us about cybersecurity, everything is built on the foundation of these basics. Let's look at how you would practically protect your CRM information. It has to be password protected. Every one of your employees that accesses a CRM needs a different password. That's important because when something bad happens, some auditor or some litigator is going to ask you for evidence of how you protected your CRM. And you're going to say, all 20 of our employees share the same password. That's negligence. You're going to have a bad day. But if you say, we have 20 employees with access in Salesforce, here's the login logs, And here's where the malicious actor stole someone's credentials, logged in. All right, that's not negligence. You just got a bad day because statistically it happens to everyone. But at least you were acting with due diligence, duty of care. So comes to CRM, passwords. Multi-factor authentication is the level up here. If all your employees have individual passwords for Salesforce and they have multi-factor authentication, you're in a great position, because for a criminal to break into Salesforce and steal all your private information, they got to steal someone's password, then steal their phone. And practically speaking, they're not going to put that much effort in. They're just going to go to someone else and try and steal their password. Patching's the same.
Sorry,
Donna, did you want to interrupt?
Well, we're getting near the end, so I wanted to give a chance to some of the chat room questions.
Patching. The nice thing about CRMs these days, I'm just going to stay on the CRM. The nice thing about CRMs, they're all in the cloud now. Salesforce did that for us 20 years ago. Salesforce keeping their back end up to date. All you have to do is reset the browser now. But if you're still doing offline at your office CRM, keep the software up to date. And the same thing with phishing. If I wanted to get into your CRM, I'd send you a fake Salesforce login email and hope someone clicked on it and put their password in. So if you tell your employees, hey, Salesforce is not going to email and you ask you for your password. Salesforce doesn't do that. You just go to Salesforce and log in. Then your employees know phishing email means risk to our private data, tying it back to the 3 Ps, passwords, patching, and phishing.
Great. Thanks, Mike. I know we're short on time, but we do want to open the floor for questions from the audience.
So I have one here. Mike, you already answered the ones from John, so thank you. Gregory's asking, how does a small business quantify their cyber risks associated with their business?
Greg is winning the award for my audience plant. Greg and I didn't know each other until right now. I will answer sort of because that's what it says on my t-shirt. There are tons of ways, and it's super complicated. There's one simpler way, and that's what we're trying to do is with our cyber score. It's not some magical smoke and mirrors thing. We have some criteria that we determine based on industry research are basics for small businesses, not enterprise or anything like that. Small business. These are your basics. We check for them, give you a score. If you want to see what that looks like, it's totally free. Thecyberscore.com. It's an educational piece so that you can have some roadmap to say, this is where we are now. These are the basics we're missing. Let's do the basics. All the stuff that we're pointing to with our scoring criteria are free to resolve. And that's part of our mantra, to give you the education you need to get better.
Donna, any other questions from the floor? Okay. Why don't we wrap it up here? And, for each of the panelists, do you want to share any tips or takeaways today?
Yeah, just one final thought from me is banks are never going to email you or text you or call you for your password. Please tell your friends and family that will never happen. And always delete and call your bank back.
Great.
One thing for me, I would say I would basically want to shadow exactly the same warning and ask from Megan and Mike, get password vault. This is by far the easiest way to have, and I mean it, have different passwords for absolutely every single login. I'm in IT, so I'm probably an odd case, but I have close to 1,000 passwords. I cannot remember them all. It's the one thing that I can tell you is if you have an iPhone, there is a free iPhone password vault. If you have Android, they have free password vault. But I would say password vaults are very inexpensive, couple bucks a month. And I will give you my recommendation. It's called 1Password, and it's spelled number 1 password. Why I like it is because I have not found a device that it doesn't work on, meaning you have one vault that you can open on your phone, on your laptop, on your workstation, on your remote desktop access, doesn't matter, it works everywhere. And it doesn't hurt that they're from Toronto. So local people, we should support businesses, Canadian businesses, right? So that's my advice. One thing also I want to add when Mike told us that he can, disclose my password and Megan's password, he was not joking. There is a website, Have I Been Pawned? where you can go, put your email, and just be amazed. I'm pretty sure that if you had your email long enough, you will find a whole bunch of passwords. And the question really is, how do they get it? And it's very simple. They're getting from vendors most of the time, meaning LinkedIn was hacked and all our names and passwords and everything was exposed. So my LinkedIn password is actually listed on Have I Been Pwned? And that's something that I would say everyone can do really quickly, just for fun, just to see if your passwords are floating there. Thank you.
We have 3 minutes. Mike, with just final thoughts.
Closing takeaway. I smile because I have confidence that everyone can achieve some basic level of cyber hygiene. This is the world we live in now. It may sound scary, but it is very achievable. I'm not surfing the internet in fear. I'm following the basics. I got multi-factor authentication from my bank and my email accounts and a ton of other things. My computers are up to date as fast as Microsoft sends the updates. And I have fun looking for phishing emails. I talk to my employees about phishing emails. I'm covering the basics. There's new things to be concerned about, but we run small businesses. There's always things to be concerned about. Our concern is already at like the 9 out of 10 with all of the other things that we're doing. This is not something that needs to like give you daily anxiety. Just focus practically on the basics. Passwords, patching, phishing, focus on the basics. Talk to your team about it constructively, and you're going to be okay.
Great. Great discussion today. I learned a lot of great insights shared. So thank you very much. Stephanie, over to you.
I'm going to jump in before Stephanie. Thanks so much, Tej, Megan, Mike, the whole team, and Greg for joining us today. I learned a lot. And 1Password, yes, great shout out to Toronto company. Awesome, thank you. I'm going to hand it over to our sponsor, Upjeet Kansal, please.
Thank you, Donna. I would like to thank you, all the panelists, to join us today on Professional Development Committee's behalf. As Vice Chair of this committee, it's really important for us to present and make these information available to small business across Mississauga. And since we were recording, hopefully other people can view this information online as well. We'll post a link on all the social media afterwards as well. And if you'd like to join and get more information throughout the year, we have a very interesting session coming up in September and then in November with different topics that are very relevant to small businesses or any businesses for that matter in Mississauga and across even Canada. Please reach out to us if you'd like more information, or Stephanie's going to give you more information on upcoming events as well. Thank you. Thank you again, Megan, Mike, Tej, and Greg.
Great. Thank you so much to the team and to our speakers today. Again, thank you to our sponsors, JD Factors and Kaiser Mason Ball, for supporting this program. I won't keep you long. We are recording today's event. It will be on our website in the coming days. So take a look under the news section, and definitely check out our events section as well. With all our upcoming events, our annual awards of excellence is coming up in May. We have the politicians reception next week. We have commissioners dinner. We have ministers joining us, and our annual golf tournament in July. So definitely take a look at our website, register online, and we look forward to seeing all of you soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great day and a great Easter this coming weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.